In today's video, we're back shooting along the coastline here in Essex, taking portraits of the locals and continuing the project I've been working on for the last year or so. Today we're shooting on the M11 with the 35mm Smolux, but also with the Leica MP with the 35mm Kasana, loaded with some This Is How I Roll Vision 250D film. In the second part of this video, I'll show you how I would edit a few of these pictures, like my 35mm film scans, as well as the raw M11 images using Luminar Neo, who have kindly sponsored this video. Let's get into it. A thunderstorm has just gone over us from like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. and it was crazy. It's the middle of June. It's 30 degrees, 31, 32 degrees today, 35 degrees tomorrow. The UK is going through a bit of a heat wave. And a thunderstorm was not what I expected, so I'm up pretty much immediately. It is 10 to 7. And I'm going to head to the coastline because right after the thunderstorm, it is just pure sunshine. And the rain is pretty much stopped now. I have no idea what to expect along the coast, but I'm going to head to Malden, which is just basically straight east for me. I've got my MP, I'm going to shoot some film. I think I've got some black and white film and the roll of like Vision 250D, I think. And then we'll shoot some stuff on the M11, of course, and continue the coastline project. But I thought with these unique conditions ahead of us, let's go and see what we see. So let's do it. Well then, we're back again in Malden the next day. The stormy conditions just turned into cloudy conditions that just turned into it being extremely muggy and actually kind of boring. So after about 2 hours of nothing, I just decided to call it yesterday. And then the sun came out after that, so it is what it is. But we're back this morning. It is 7 a.m. It's beautiful today, just stunning. And I wish I got up at 4 a.m. to see the sunrise. I think I might have to do that tomorrow because it's a heat wave basically in the UK, and it's going to be 35 degrees today. Crazy. So while it's still early and while it's still a little bit cool, let's head outside and take some pictures. Let's do it. So I'm out here this morning with the Leica MP and the M11. I'm shooting 250D, Vision 250D film. I'm very interested to see what film photographs are like in this project, in this coastline project I'm working on, sitting alongside digital work. I think 99% of the coastline photographs I've been taking around Essex have been digital, but I am shooting a little bit more film nowadays than when I first started, so I would like to see what some film photographs see what they look like sat next to some digital work when I sequence them, or get some little prints made, or just see what the image is like generally speaking. because this will be able to film us. Okay, this is, yeah, you look great.
This is me.
As you
work
are.
mode.
As you are. No, I think that's the way it should be. I don't really want anyone posing silly or. 2, 3.
Okay.
And then 1 on digital.
Oh right, yes.
Thanks, Carol. Really appreciate it. Perfect. You're a natural.
I don't know about that.
We'll just get one more of you looking straight at me, if that's okay.
Okay, yeah.
Perfect, thanks, Carol. You're famous now.
Yeah.
Do you want? Do you know your email? Do you want to pop it into my phone?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can send you the pictures.
Yeah. Well, nothing much happens, but it actually does. Yeah.
I find it absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
It's a different world. Like I said, there'll be people all over the world that never see this.
No.
They see this stuff, really. So.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a photographer, it's.
Yeah.
The colours are lovely. The light is lovely.
Yeah.
It's got a look, hasn't it?
It has, yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll leave you to it, Carol. Sorry, I don't want to intrude. I know you're working. And that right there is why I am thoroughly enjoying this coastline project. So I get to meet and chat to lovely people like Carol there, who's owned that barge for 50 years. She's living on it at the moment, which is just a whole new world to me. I have no idea about any of it, so chatting to her, learning about the barges, and took a portrait or 2. Hopefully they come out okay. I took one on film, so we'll see what that looks like. Just a great way to start the day. Really hoping those photographs turn into something. That was very wholesome.
Yeah. So that's fine. You can get on the island if you're a National Trust member. You can book to get on the island.
Oh, that's cool.
But the actual view from the middle of the river without any...
Oh, peaceful. I didn't know I'd be taking dog portraits this morning. Lovely to meet Bobby, golden retriever, just enjoying the water. I feel like, just on the topic of like talking to people and interacting with people and taking portraits of people, when I head out in the mornings with my photography mindset on, sometimes I'm like not in the mood to talk to people at all. And I just want to like keep myself to myself and just enjoy the sights. Very peaceful kind of, like a calm attitude, you know. That's why I do these morning walks or this coastline project, because it's just such a good start to the day. But other times I come out and I'm like, straight away I'm interacting with people, and I just feel way more extroverted. And I think hopefully I get some photographs because of it. But chatting to Carol on the barge and then chatting to Sharon, who was playing with the golden retriever, just great. Just lovely to chat to people, tell them about the project, and I actually just say I'm documenting the coastlines, and then they give you more recommendations of places to go, places to see, and insights from some people that live here. So it's invaluable, really, and you get to meet some lovely people. With a lot of my like London street photography work, I don't really speak to anybody. It's all very candid and very just on the move, but for stuff like this, that you've got to change your approach a little bit. And if I'm taking photographs of people in this sort of environment, it would almost be weird if I didn't speak to them, because there's nobody else here. It's just me with a camera pointing at somebody. So you've kind of got to make conversation. And it is hot. Look how cool this is. This is right at the end of the promenade, if that's what this is, in Malden. Very cool monument. That's another portrait in the bag. Just got chatting to another local, David, there in the scooter. Shot that portrait on 250D Vision film or whatever it is. We started chatting about cameras. He's been taking pictures as well over the years, and he noticed that this was film. I think if you know, then you know. He knew what Leica were, and we got chatting about that and stuff. It's funny, I think you either talk to people about it or you don't. Like if I see people in the street with another Leica, actually, if I see anybody in the street with a camera, I give them a little nod, especially if I'm in London. I drop them a little smile and a little like, howdy. But some people don't interact, but I feel like if people know what this is, then it's definitely a conversation starter, I think is what I'm trying to say. It is so peaceful out here. I hope you enjoyed those morning walks. I definitely wouldn't have been able to shoot any further or later into the day, as it's getting to like 35 degrees yesterday and today. And some places in the UK are getting to like 37 degrees, which is crazy. So Europe is getting hit pretty hard right now. In this part of the video, I thought it could be a cool idea to share the editing process with you. I want to edit a film scan as well as a digital file so you can see what my workflow looks like, and highlight some features within Luminar Neo, who have kindly sponsored this video. So my favourite images from this shoot was definitely the portrait of David. I think the colours came out wonderfully and the portrait just feels very natural to me, not too staged. The barge from inside the shelter also surprised me a little bit when I got this scan. I love how I composed it, if I do say so myself, and even if the light is flat and there isn't much colour from that morning, it still came together pretty nicely. I also really liked the photograph the next morning when I was on the barge. The colours obviously look great, but the detail and texture of all the ropes and lines stretching across the composition is kind of chaotic, but very pleasing. And of course, the portraits of Carol on the barge, great light within a really nice, unique environment. I was also really shocked to see how the 35mm photograph of Carol on the barge and the M11 photograph of Carol on the barge ended up looking so similar. That wasn't intentional on my part. I edited all my film photographs from this day separately to all of my digital files. I find it interesting that regardless of what medium I'm using, I tend to kind of lean to the same sort of look with those colors. I'm not really sure how I did it. I didn't put them next to each other and try and match the colors at all. It just worked out really nicely. I do think the more close, direct portrait on the M11 was the best photograph of Carol from this set. So if I ever use these images for anything, I think that portrait of Carol on screen right now was probably the one that works the nicest. Let's now go through the editing process of this portrait of David, as I'm sure a few people might be interested to know what my scans look like and how I work with them. And then I also want to edit this landscape photo on the barge, as it feels like there's so much happening here, and some of the features inside Luminar Neo can really make this one pop. So here we are in Lightroom with all of my film scans down here. This might look really strange because this video is sponsored by Luminar Neo, and here I am starting the editing process in Lightroom. But bear with me here, I know Luminar Neo are keen to work with you with your current workflow. So like many of you, I still use Lightroom for most of my editing, and I don't think Luminar are expecting anybody to completely switch and change their workflow entirely. And you can use Luminar Neo as a pretty decent plugin from Lightroom, which I'm going to show you how to do that very easily here. You also might be able to tell that some of these images or these scans even look very flat and desaturated. And that's because when I get my film developed, I go to London Film Lab in Shoreditch and I ask them to scan them as flat TIFFs. Now, if you don't ask as for flat TIFFs, then the regular scan might come through with some contrast and some adjustments and some color tweaks made to your scan, which is great. Most labs know what they're doing, so it's not a problem. But if you ask for a flat scan or a flat TIFF, then that is essentially the closest to what a raw file might look like. And then we can go into this flat scan and add as much contrast and color and make as many adjustments as we want. And I think a flat TIFF is a great starting point. I do that with all of my scans, but it is personal preference. Everyone's workflow is slightly different. So we have our flat TIFF here. And the first thing I'm going to do is click Edit and Edit in Photoshop, Edit Original. This is going to be a super quick adjustment of clicking Command-Shift-B. which is auto color correct. A lot of the times with your scans, depending on what lab you use, depending on what the film looks like itself, there might be a slight color cast to it. And if I press Command Z, you can see that it just looks slightly green and yellow in the shadows. So Shift Command B, auto color correct, kind of just neutralizes it. And it's a very simple tool that I think Photoshop does a good job at doing and making this now closer to what the final result will look like. So Command S, back to Lightroom, and you can see we have our adjusted image. Now we're going to edit this over in Luminar Neo. Edit original. Let's be real here, I am not going to be completely editing and changing the style of this film scan, because what's the point in using a certain film stock if you're just going to completely transform the image anyway? I think if you're using a certain film stock, you're using it because of that aesthetic and style and look, so you might as well lean into that a little bit. And essentially I'm going to keep the edits to this scan very subtle, but we're just going to improve the contrast and the color a little bit. I'm also not like one of them super purist people that suggest that you should never edit a film scan. And I know it's slightly strange, you're shooting analog and then opening it up digitally to edit it, but look, here we are, and I'm not going to judge anyone's workflow, I'm just sharing mine with you. So yeah, let's make some very subtle, but I think much needed adjustments to this scan. Within the Develop tab, I'm going to go down to blacks and whites and then lower this by around 50, looks good, and then lift the whites by around 35. Within the regular light tab here, I'm going to lower the shadows by around 30, lift the highlights a little bit. Immediately you can see we've just added so much more contrast, and this image is starting to look like something I really like. Maybe even lift the exposure just a touch. Down to the color, we're going to bring some green back in the tint, maybe just -12. Warm the image up a little bit as well, I think, with +5. Lift the vibrance especially. I think this is where the image really shines here. 52 in the vibrance, looks really good. And I'm pretty happy with that. Now, depending on what your scan looks like, it's often, there's a lot of variables depending on where you get your film developed and scanned, or if you're scanning at home. But I think this looks a little bit too sharp. I think the image is great, but just to soften the way this image looks, we're going to go down to the creative tabs, go into glow, select soft focus. And if I just go to 100, you can see how ridiculous that looks. We are not going to be doing that, but I think subtle adjustments is key here. So maybe just down to like 10. And then in the advanced settings, you have control over what this might look like in the end. But we're going to keep the adjustments very subtle. So amount 10, softness 10, brightness 5, contrast, let's bring that down to 5. And I think what we have here is really nice. If I click the before and after, you can see that the flat TIFF with the color correction from Photoshop looks like this, and then the final edit looks like this. With Luminar Neo as well, I love having this little slider before and after. Really good touch. Once you're happy with your edit in Luminar Neo, you can click apply over at the top. It's going to process and save the image, and then we can go back to Lightroom and we have our edited final image. Now, I could just open up the flat TIFF in Luminar Neo and edit the whole file there, of course, but I did want to show you how I opened it up in Photoshop and just auto color corrected it. As I remember when somebody showed me that not that long ago, and I thought, you know, I know how to edit photographs. I've been using Photoshop, Lightroom, and software like Luminar Neo for years now, but the auto color correct can really have a nice effect on your film scans, especially if there is a slight green or yellow color cast in the shadows. So yeah, that is how I would edit a film scan. The next image I want to show you is this taken on the barge. And I love that I spoke to Carol and made small talk and took portraits of her, but I was only able to get this image here because I was on the barge. So the byproduct of me taking a portrait was also able to get an image like this as well. And I love, like I said, all the ropes and the lines just cutting across the composition. And I don't think I have a photograph quite like this yet for the Coastline project, so I'm pleased with this. But this right now looks like a very boring M11 file, and I clearly need to get my center clean. So the first thing we're going to do is go into the Essentials tab, click Erase, just increase the size of this, click that, and then click Erase. Perfect, problem solved. Straight into the Develop tab, and we're just going to make some adjustments that you're probably familiar with regardless of what editing software you use. I'm going to increase the highlights, lift the shadows a little bit, and then also add some smart contrast to make it pop. I think the exposure's fine, maybe just bring it up a little bit. Go into color, I'm going to warm it up +10, I think that's nice. Vibrance, bring that up to 40. If we just click a little before and after, you can see it's starting to pop a little bit. Go into optics, auto defringe, go into the curves a little bit. You will all be familiar with this. I'm just going to make a slight S curve, bring the blacks up a little bit, lower the highlights here. The next few things we're going to do to this image are pretty unique to Luminar Neo. So because it was an extremely hot day, given the heat wave, there was a lot of haze in the distance, but I don't think this image really translates that entirely. So we're going to go over to landscape here, click atmosphere, and you can then add fog, layered fog, mist, or haze. So if I just click layered fog and use the amount as 100, you can see we can change the depth of the fog. Pretty cool. If I go to mist, again, we're at 100, so this is way too much. You can change the depth of the mist. I think, honestly, with this type of work, you've got to keep it all subtle, and I'm not here to completely change the environment and the mood of the image completely, because it would not be a real representation of what it looked like. But there was a little bit of haze in the air, so I think this is a good example to show you. If I click haze, if I bring this down to about 25, and then we can change the depth of this. I'm going to keep it around. It was definitely in the distance horizon line behind the boat here. So keep the lightness at 100, maybe even increase the amount just a touch. If we just have a little look at before and after, we've kind of increased or exaggerated the atmosphere in the distance a little bit. The next thing we're going to do in Luminar Neo is go down to mood, and then we're going to choose one of these LUTs, because I think this bunch of filters or presets, however you want to call them, within Luminar Neo in the mood tab specifically are fantastic. And there is a shop if you want to, get more LUTs, you can do that and it'll open up the Luminar Neo shop. But we're not going to do that because I think some of the standard LUTs here are fantastic. So if I go to 100 on the amount into cinematic toning, you can see, obviously this is way over the top, but it's just so we can see what kind of look we can get. Let's go to creative, see what else we got here. Just flying through some of these. Into cross processing, no. Portrait toning, definitely the first one in cinematic toning, Anaheim, which is what I used when I originally edited this image. So we're going to bring that right back to about 20, because obviously 100 is too much. We don't want that. Yeah, somewhere around 20 is lovely. And then I'm just going to increase the contrast of that as well by 12. I do want to edit the color of the blue here. I can see the blue in the sky is just not the kind of blue that I like. So I'm going to go back to the Essentials tab, color, HSL, and in the blue, I'm going to make it a little bit more teal. Maybe we need to adjust the cyan as well a little bit. I think we're starting to get somewhere now. This is looking very cool. I don't want this image to be too clinical either, so we're going to go into film grain in the creative tab and increase the amount. If we go to 100, you can see that it looks disgusting, but I'm probably going to dial this back to around 15, just add a little bit of texture. If you want more control over the grain itself, you can change the size and roughness. I'm going to keep it quite fine. Maybe go to size 12, roughness 15. Very similar to what we did with the film scan, I'm going to go into glow, and I'm going to select, well, let's select 100 on soft focus so you can see where that is. If we go to glow, it looks like that. If we use the Autumn effect, it looks like that. And if we use the Autumn effect soft, it looks like that. But soft focus is pretty nice, not at 100. So bring the soft focus down to about 10. That's the original pretty boring M11 file, and that is our final edit in Luminar Neo. I have barely scratched the surface within Luminar Neo, and there's a bunch more that the program has to offer. But if you're interested in giving it a go, then you'll be pleased to know that there is just a one-time purchase, no subscriptions, and most things nowadays are subscriptions. So that's a big win from Luminar Neo. There's also a 30-day money-back guarantee, so if you're interested in trying it and then you don't like it, you can get your money back, no stress. And right now, on certain plans, there is up to 70% off. So if you were ever going to give Luminar Neo a good go, now would be the time to do it. And I'll leave a link for all that in the description. A huge thank you to the guys over at Luminar Neo for supporting the channel and sponsoring this video. It really does mean a lot. And I hope you guys have enjoyed these morning walks and the continuation of this coastline project. I'm starting to really enjoy taking portraits of people and getting some different images. It's funny now because I've been working on this for about a year, and it's very easy for me to go back to the same places and take the same photographs. So even though I'm going back to the same places, I need to kind of think differently about the work I'm creating, and I'm interested to see how it evolves and changes over time. So thank you so much for watching this video. All the details for Luminar Neo in the description, and I'll see you guys very soon. Peace.